Hello, everyone, and welcome to Spoilers Obviously. I'm your host, Joel, and with me today, Mr. Moon.
Hello, everyone. It's good to be back again.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you, man?
Dude, I'm doing well. I feel good. I feel productive, which is a good thing. And today was actually a day off, which felt wonderful. But there's so much to do.
I have to say, even though you did tell me it is your surname, your surname is absolutely amazing.
Thank you, sir. Yes.
How? Well, obviously you did not come up with that name.
Yeah, well, it's
what's the origin?
Fairly relevant to our topic today, as it is an Asian orientation.
Really?
And very much all the more appropriate because it is Chinese.
Ooh.
Yeah, my great-grandfather moved or immigrated to Canada during the Boxer Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
And he opened a shop. I read recently his biography. There was like old historical records my grandmother gave me, and then she's writing a book, which I'm looking forward to read. And people couldn't actually pronounce his last name, which is Mamunci, and that's cool. But so people just called him Moon, and so eventually he's like, all right, cool, and he wrote that down in his immigration papers, and Bob's your uncle. Yeah.
Wow,
He married
awesome.
a French woman, and then their son married a Finnish woman, and then my dad married my mom, who's Jewish and Russian of descent. She's not very Russian.
So your DNA is like all over the place.
I'm the entire world. I'm quite the mutt.
You non-sponsored, but you should do 23andMe.
Probably. I tried. I did one of the ones through Google, or not Google, National Geographic,
Mm-hmm.
and they just gave me a whole bunch of when I got the results, they were just data points. It looked like code, but it just looks like DNA sequencing lining, and I was like, I don't know how to interpret that. I'm not a scientist. Yeah. What's your bloodline?
So I did 23andMe back in 2018, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I'm mostly like 64% Ashkenaz, even though I'm Moroccan.
All right.
But I have some. What surprised me, I have Italian in my DNA. I'm mostly That for me, that was like, holy shit, that's awesome. But
whose side is that on?
I don't know. It says the closest relative, back is maybe 5 decades, not 5 generations back. So it's like, oh, okay. But let's see. I'm mostly European and North African. Well, not African, but
that's delightful. Nice little interface.
I'm British and Irish, as you can see.
Thank you, 23andMe.
Beard over here.
Yeah, I get red in my beard too, which is weird. But I thought that's through my Jewish side. I'll have to check that out.
So what I noticed, everyone actually has a little reddish in their beard. And it's fascinating only in the beard. You won't have let's say on your head.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. Anyways, let's get into our topic. Totally segued off our topic right at the beginning.
But it's really not that far from the topic, and because it's all about immigration, family conflicts, the genial past, and the various things that come from our bloodlines and traditions and things of that nature. So we're right on track.
Yeah.
Joel, what are we talking about today?
Well, today we're going to talk about everything, everywhere, all at once.
All at once? Everywhere, everything? Everything.
Yeah, everything. About whatever subject.
It's a very broad topic.
Yeah.
How are we tackling this?
So first of all, in shortest way possible, what did you think of the movie?
First of all, I thought that as an entire film, I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was a very brilliant piece of film, actually using cinematography and the tools that it's, given to very almost the highest levels. I thought some of the messaging was um wasn't as deep as they could have gone in certain areas, because it was a very deep, regardless, in multiple facets of exploration of various philosophical themes and what it means to live, or what is the underdrive of someone, like what are your personal worldviews that give you founding in living. And so I thought, uh, 10 out of 10 for visuals, for storytelling, like hands down all the board. Not a perfect film, but I can't find out what's not perfect about it, due to the fact that though some things made me uncomfortable, I had to just laugh about it, because maybe I wouldn't have done it that way, but that's not mine to say. And viewing it as it was, I thought it was, because I personally, at this point, people should know I very much care about the narrative of things, and I thought it was absolutely phenomenal. So hands down, would recommend. Not a movie to watch with your grandma.
Yeah, definitely not a movie to watch with your grandma.
What did you think about the film?
I loved it. I think it was perfect the way it is. I thought, well, I don't remember if this movie came out first and then Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.
They kind of came out together.
Exactly. And I think I saw Multiverse of Madness first, and then I saw this movie. And
same.
I told myself after watching this movie, like, this is what Multiverse of Madness should have been. Because if you think about it, the multiverse in this movie is insane. It's amazing how they show it to us and tell us, and how we see all these other universes. But compare that to Doctor Strange. What was the madness about Doctor Strange, the multiverse over there? Nothing.
I don't like to compare the two films. Honestly, I held them in such separate categories in my brain that only on a recent YouTube binge, when one of my favorite YouTubers did a mild, on his review of Doctor Strange, that he dropped the comparison. I was like, oh yeah, that's another multiverse. But because the multiverse is kind of the craze right now, again, the story, when telling a story, some of the important elements is to have a solid theme of what the characters are going through, and that is the focus of what grabs our humanity, our attention. When the spectacle is more the force of the story, oh, and this is what the title's all about, then it's not so much what it shouldn't, those aren't what you should have as your foundation for building the story. Sometimes there, any rule can be broken. Sometimes there's things that how would you say, compensate within the two opposing worlds, where those two factors work together, where you have the spectacle that is part of the narrative story device, like a MacGuffin or something. But then there's different rules about how you use a MacGuffin, or a Chekhov's gun, or whatever, all these various factors. So that make it satisfying, or very this is a good story. But all that to say is I wouldn't compare these two films. They're other than the fact that they have multiverses, the idea of multiverses have been around in science and whatever for eons now. So
no, so well, first of all, I totally agree with you, but no, the reason I compared between the two is only because of the multiverse. I didn't say oh, this movie is better.
Yeah. No, I wasn't saying that. I was just merely saying I couldn't categorize them together, other than the fact that they shared the idea.
Yeah. So I'm not
But
categorizing them together, but I'm saying like when it comes to only the multiverse aspect of it, I
mm,
feel like this movie was way more madness
yeah,
compared to Doctor Strange.
100%. I agree that this one had the more like it could have been called Multiverse of Madness, and then the other one could have been called Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Something along the lines of that. But even then, it wasn't like
Doctor
I understand what
Strange
you're saying. It wasn't
travels
as
through the
chaotic,
multiverse.
basically. But at the same time, like I don't know, the themes of the multiverse in the Marvel, it's like they're trying to build off of something, so that that I don't think they want to spend. They had that one scene for the spectacle of them popping through the multiverse. We've seen things like that in the Guardians of the Galaxy when they're doing the warp-esque drive,
Mhm.
popping. Now, here's my thing with that. I mean, like they're not going through different multiverse, but they're definitely going through weird things in the galaxy where they're like warping and getting weird, which is
Yeah,
very interesting.
they are traveling to different galaxies
Hmm.
very, very fast, and
Yeah, but
that's
they're
what
still
basically
getting
happened.
warped and weird,
Yeah.
which has that same. If you took those two scenes side by side of Doctor Strange 1, him getting a tour of some aspects of the dimensions and multiverse, and you take the Guardians of the Galaxy, put that beside, and then you put the same scene of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness beside each other. It's about roughly the same amount of time of them. All right, and here's our crazy fun shot. And
Well, it's a typical Marvel.
yeah, he's got a formula. Anyways, all that to say, this movie is phenomenal. Everything, everywhere, all at once. Incredible. And let's get into it. Let's
A-
do it. Let's dig into it.
Absolutely incredible. We did also mention this movie, I think, multiple times throughout our episodes, and what we thought was so amazing in this movie
Mm.
compared to what they do in other movies or TV shows.
Hmm.
I don't remember which episode in the podcast we did mention this movie, but we're gonna talk about it.
Probably. I think it was in when we were talking about Lord of the Rings
Could
because we were
be.
talking about the ideals of the forced message
Yeah.
versus a narrative factor.
Yeah. So I think that was like episode 2 or 3 of the podcast. Um,
Hey.
I'll put a link to anyone who wants to. But anyways,
Down below.
what I loved about this, the whole woke movement. In this movie, we have our main character, and her daughter happens to be lesbian. Now, in other movies or TV shows, if you make a character lesbian just for the fuck of it,
Hmm.
it's like, why? How is this motivating the story? How is this helping? Is it doing anything? Like, no, we just want to represent. So, personally, my point of view, in that case, go fuck yourself.
Hmm.
But in this movie, it's like, no, the fact that the main character's daughter is lesbian is actually very crucial and is a big motivation to the story. And when I saw
Absolutely.
that, I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. And I love everything about what they did over here.
Yeah. For those who don't know, the movie takes place from the perspective of a second or first wave immigrant from China coming to America and trying to live her life. She's escaped her traditional family to an extent and trying to live on her own. She's basically eloped with her kind of geeky ass husband,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly. And
Yeah.
then their children are living in the American world and are, of course, distancing themselves from the cultural and traditional backlash that the parents still slightly possess, probably not fully realizing it. Those are some of the core themes. But on top of that,
And on top of that is, well, what I said as the daughter being lesbian, which for, traditionally, and that's not acceptable. And we can totally get that, like, other cultures have their own traditions, and it's hard for them to accept what is new. So
Hmm.
moving to another place, to a different country, a different state, or obviously a lot of things are going to be different from where you were born and raised. And for the main character, that was very hard for her to accept. Compared to the dad, actually, he was like all chill, like, I love my daughter, and that's all that matters. And
Hmm.
it was very interesting to see the dynamic between the main character, the wife, and her husband. And she
Hmm.
she was the most serious one. Like, they run a laundry business, and you
Yep.
see she's the most serious
And
one. Like,
various
when
others.
yeah. But between the two, she's the most serious one, and she's like, honestly, the one who's wearing the pants in the family,
She's
compared to.
also taking the weight of the world on her shoulders.
Exactly. And she never has gives herself time to relax and take a break, because work, and you need to serve the customers with their laundry.
Yeah.
And then you see the husband, like, the wife is like, where is this bag, 46. And it's like, oh, it's probably in our apartment rather in the shop
Which
itself.
is directly above of the laundry complex. Yeah.
And she asked him, like, why is it over there? Well, I felt like he'll be more comfortable with the other bags. And then you see, like,
With
googly
googly
eyes.
eyes.
Like, what's it like, dude, this is a business, like, be more professional. But no, like, he's all
He's
chill.
also probably at this point trying to like get his wife to chill at the same time. Like he's doing these things, try to be like, don't take it so seriously, like relax a bit. His little way, because he's such a quiet character at first. It's his little way of trying to speak up.
Yeah. So yeah, so the grandfather comes to visit. It's his first time in America, and he comes to visit his daughter, which is our main protagonist.
Hmm.
And she tries to clean everything up. In the meantime, we see they're back in that, those, like, piles of clothes and papers in their own houses, any space to move.
Yeah, they're
And
trying to also assemble all their files together for the IRS.
yeah, because their back taxes and all that stuff. But at
Yep.
the same time, you can see, like, she's not really happy with her life.
No.
And it's like, is this really all I'm doing with my life? Is this like my purpose?
Yeah, she's
And
extremely mediocre.
yeah, extremely.
Which is
And
a point in the narrative. It's not just because the writers are trying to shit down her throat. She's very much like has to be mediocre for this plot to work.
exactly. And I have to say, every little detail in this movie was actually, like, perfect and very crucial. It's not like, here, let's throw something just for the fun of it. Like, no, every little
Hmm.
detail is like really important.
Yep.
And also the fact that you see, her husband is keep trying to be chill and all that, and you can kind of see he himself is not really happy, but not in the business, more like in the marriage. And later on, he does, give her papers to file for divorce.
Well, and
And
this depends on
the
two simultaneous, very close
timelines.
universes. Yeah, and one of them is one wants to divorce, and the other one is thinking about it.
And her universe is thinking about it, right?
Hmm.
It's very mixy.
Yeah, the way if you haven't seen the film, just stop the podcast and go watch it, and then come back. But the way that they invert the viewers like perspective of them hopping through the multiverse is very jarring and very quick, and not that you won't miss it. It's deliberate, but like because they do it so often so fast, and and it's demanded upon very suddenly in many circumstances. It's like, whoa! It's like sitting in front. It's being like Clockwork Orange, you know, with your eyes propped open and just images flashing.
Totally. I loved how they explained to us how in this movie you travel in the multiverse. Unlike
Mhm.
other movies, like we said in Doctor Strange, you physically go into another universe. Compared to in this movie, you put in your ears 2 earbuds. You
Yep.
think of what universe you want to be in, but the thing is, it's not you physically
Via the
going.
skill set.
Exactly. It's not like you physically go to that universe. It's your conscience that actually
Something like
goes.
neuro hopping or something like that. Neuralink hopping or something like that. It was a
Yeah,
very creative, very, very smart set of rules
yeah,
for all of this.
totally. And the thing is, the more when it comes to time travel movies and multiverse movies, most movies that I personally saw, the more you think about it, the more problems you can find.
Mm.
Compared to this movie, I can barely find any problems with it, which is why it's so
It's a
good.
clean system. Yeah.
Exactly. You know,
Well, I mean, you'd have to, you know, the whole movie gets launched when we realize that one of the, like, maybe this is like, I don't know how he got the ear stuff for his wife, but
mhm.
whole movie props off of when they're going to the IRS, that her husband conks out and comes back up as a different person from, who's still the same person, just from a different multiverse line, where they've actually discovered how to do this. Like
Yeah,
the general, what we're seeing in this film are the consequences of a different universe imploding over into the person who we're watching. But it just so happens that even though this is kind of like a meaningless side section, side stream, different multiverse timeline, that the wife is very crucial, due to the fact that she, as opposed to all the other versions of herself in the various multiverse, is literally garbage at everything.
no, they're not garbage
Or
and
she's not
everything.
garbage, she's just very neutral.
Exactly. The thing that for me when he told her, and for me like that's a punch to the face.
Mm,
When he tells her in all other universes, you are actually the worst one. Like you're like the
yeah,
lowest, and that's like, oh fuck.
but
If
she has the most potential.
exact, but if I were to hear like out of all the other universe of myself, to find
Mm,
out that I'm actually the worst one, like there's another universe where I'm successful, I'm a
yeah.
billionaire, I'm a sports car racer or whatever, but to hear like no, me, my life, who am I? I'm the worst
No.
version possible. That's like, oh
Mm.
fuck. I guess I'm just gonna go kill myself.
But with this ability, like the fact that you're the worst one, or you have the most potential in this case, because now you can link with all the others who have other various sets of skills, and others meaning yourself, and download their skills into you when you come back into this world, or use those set of skills while you're linked with them in this world.
Yeah, it's only use it for a short period of time. It's not like here I learned it and now I can use it for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
But no, the thing is, what was hilarious is how do you actually go to another, link to another universe? So they tell us you put these two earpieces, and you need to think about, let's say, what skill set you want to know. So let's go for someone who doesn't know how to do karate. I want to know how to do karate in a different universe where I know actually how to do karate. So I put the two
Mm-hmm.
earpieces and I think about that universe, and then I need to do like a little side mission, and it could be anything. It could be like tell this person how much, this random person that you've never met, how much you love them and how much they mean to you.
You need an emotional or high something stimulus to put your brain through the Neuralink. So you need something that spikes your emotions. So in the movie, not only was it saying weird stuff to other people, but also hurting themselves or
Yeah, one of them said like, well, you have this option or you can break your arms. So you
yeah.
choose. And then they had one of the funniest ones, which
Oh my gosh.
the stamp, the IRS stamp that looks like a butt plug. And guess what? They used it
My
as a butt plug.
as a butt plug. It was so funny. I was watching. So I decided to watch this movie randomly with one of my roommates. So we're sitting there watching this, and he clocks the stamps in the first scene. Them sitting there, and he's like, "Man, those look like butt plugs. That's really weird." I'm like, "Yeah, that is weird. They do look very unordinarily like butt plugs, but they're clearly stamps. So whatever. It's just a silly whatever. Maybe the prop designer was being funny." And then they Chekhov gun that shit, and everybody who's Neuralinked, who's trying to find the wife, at one point decides to go on this crazy fight, and they realize in order to up their skills, they need to Neuralink even further, and so everyone's chasing this butt plug, trying to. And the worst part was when it wiggles. Did you catch that?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So
Oh my
eventually
God.
somebody does get it up there, but it's just sticking out his backside. And it's
And it
seriously one of
wiggle,
the
wiggle, wiggle.
weirdest fights I've ever seen, but I thought it was so brilliant. It's so brilliant. Like,
It,
you've set up the rules and there it is. Fuck, just go for it.
you didn't break the rule, which is what's so amazing. You have a lot of movies, they give you rules and then they themselves break those rules. And they did
But they're
not
the
break.
chosen one.
No, but I mean, like, here's
No.
the rules we tell you of the movie.
Yeah.
But over here, they didn't break any rules. Like, we gave you the rules and we're going to follow them to the T. Like, fuck, this is amazing.
It was
Absolutely amazing.
brilliant. So it turns out that in the other verse, that where Neuralink was established, because it was basically the world is coming to an end in some way due to the fact that there is a great evil that is pursuing everyone, and they were an experiment that all of a sudden can possess and be anywhere, everywhere, everywhere,
Everything,
everything,
everywhere.
everywhere, all the time. They can be that, and it turns out it's her daughter.
It's her gay lesbian daughter. Exactly. And this daughter is obviously from another universe, and she was able to actually start ruining all the universes and hunting whoever is going to stop her, hunting them down, because she, like you said, wants to be everything everywhere all at once.
Well,
And
she is everywhere, everything, everywhere, all at once. But her mission, because of this, because of what her mother did to her in that universe,
which is not
was
accept
to.
her for who she is.
I mean, they're all tied on those themes for sure. They're all relevant. It's that pressure of the mother, the matriarchal, upon the next generation. In this case, the daughter, and the daughter's response. Like, this whole thing is like this deep interpsychological, like, it's not the literal story that you're seeing. The literal story, you could say A, B, and C, but what's going on is a representation of the inner family dynamics of what it feels like when trying to, because we all have this, what is our personal potential when we're in a family. You're a father, you're looking at your children, you're like, okay, like, how do I raise them? You have the pressure of the universe sitting on your shoulders because you want them to be the best that they can be. You want them to be everywhere, everything, all at once. Like, you want the best, but that pressure can also lead a lot of things, and especially with various traditional backgrounds, with those pressures leaning your spear in your side, can be quite dynamic. So this movie is a huge exploration to that, and also with a lot of Zen and Buddhist metaphors, as the daughter in the grand scheme wants to put everything on a bagel into the void.
that That was so confusing. Like she takes a regular bagel and basically poured the entire universe inside of bagel. Like, how the fuck did he do that?
Well, it's an everything bagel.
It's in everything bagel. But yeah, so this daughter from all the other universes, she is, because she is everything everywhere at once. She can at will. She doesn't need to Neuralink. She can at will gain any skill and even change her looks.
Or
Like
be
what
in any of the universes in her consciousness.
exactly? She can
Which
be
makes the threat level, like the rules in this movie make it so clear, like everything that you're dealing with anybody could be a potential threat, almost like a Smith in the Matrix.
exactly. But it's like it's one person rather than like in the Matrix, he
Yeah.
multiplies himself.
But I'm saying like the agents can possess anybody
Yeah,
in the Matrix, but
yeah.
in this case, you're correct. The defining line is that you, let's say you're the impending evil. I would try everything in my power to avoid being around you because I know that you could be possessed by whoever that impending evil is, being you,
Hmm.
etc., etc. Which
So
makes for some of the craziest visuals that we've
amazing,
ever seen.
amazing visual.
Hot dog fingers,
Oh my
confetti exploding blood.
Oh my god, I totally forgot about the hot dog fingers. The hot dog fingers was so amazing about it. If I'm not
Mm.
wrong, she created that universe because
I
she
think that it's
tried.
just a world that already existed. The universe. I don't think she could create universes. It's
No,
just that there are so many. It's infinite.
yeah, but no. What? Okay, so this is what I understood when that scene happened.
Mm. Oh,
So
okay.
we see her for the first time trying on her own to Neuralink rather than being
Hmm.
guided by her other universe husband.
Yeah.
So and she tries to do it, but at the same time, there's an ad for hot dogs, and that's on her
Hmm.
mind. But she's trying
Yep.
to do multiverse thing, and because that was on her mind, and this is the only universe where we see the origin of it, how we see the human race as apes, and then we
Hmm.
see the hot dogs fingers. So what I understood from it, because the hot dogs was on her mind while she was doing everything, she as if created a new universe where we had humans, apes with regular fingers and apes with hot dog fingers, and the hot dog
Yep.
fingers won, and that's
Yep.
how everything continued from there.
I don't believe within the set rules that she was creating versus what I think that did because was just take the theme of hot dogs and then instead of what her direct skill or of her trying to explore to find something, because remember the multiverse is linked by the the brains of everybody. She
Yeah.
just skip hopped in a jump with hot dogs on her mind and found the universe in which hot dogs were relevant. So instead of finding of a skill, she found a theme, aka hot dogs. Because in an infinite multiverse, anything is possible, which is
Yeah.
basically the ideal.
No, it definitely makes a lot more sense, but that's
That's how I interpret it. I mean, you could have it. It could be that she created a universe. She is a very powerful character, anyways. But
yeah. But the thing is, over here we see the conflict between the mother and the bad daughter, and
mm-hmm.
when she tells her like, oh no no no, you don't like girls, you like boys, and the bad daughter is like, really, you're still on that? It's like, what's like, that's so old. And also she couldn't believe, the mother couldn't actually believe that the bad guy over here is actually her daughter, and that was for
Mm-hmm.
herself like, you know, no, I will not accept you as lesbian, and no, I will not accept that fact that you are the bad person who's trying to ruin the multiverse and also kind of kill me. So,
Mm. Well,
as
it's
you,
interesting though because the dilemma is not just quote unquote white and black. It's very gray, and they go into this area where it's like it's not that my daughter is bad. It's, I mean, she's doing horrible things. Yes, that does make her a bad person, but and aka murdering people. I'm not going to particular other areas, but and transferring through the universe and whatever. But this powerful character is trying to find her mother so she can either kill her or make her join. But the reality is that she wants to reconcile because of basically this whole ideal. Again, this is an inner metaphysical representation of like family dynamics and the like exploration of that. You have put a lot of pressure on me. I've become this and I'm trying to explore in every other way. I want us to be okay. I will destroy you, or I will, aka I'll shunt you out of my life, or, you know, we've seen people murder, you know, parents before, or, you know, so that can take that multiple branch. Or we can, you know, you can accept me, or maybe we can come to a compromise or some other aspect. Well, the mother is like, you know, I wanted the best for you. I tried to do my best. I'm a good person, but then the table flips and she's like, well, I put all this pressure on you. Maybe I'm the problem. And maybe I have my own problems that I haven't dealt with, aka my family lineage, aka stuff with my dad, and so on. And so the conflict at the core of the movie, the core of the conflict is this relationship. It's not about the things per se that what she's doing or what she is, especially because the character elevates it. Let's call her the multiverse force daughter, the big one, because she elevates it. Because in this universe, yes, her daughter is a lesbian, and that's not traditional, and that makes it difficult for her trying to relate to her father to explain that, okay, this is not her friend, this is her girlfriend. That's not the real issue, because when the girl comes back, or the multiverse force daughter says, the one says that it's, you know, you're still on that. Like, it was never like, yes, in this verse, that's what it's about. But the core issue, the grander, it's funny, the bigger we go in the multiverse, it's more introspective about the inner sides, because the imagery also evokes that. It's like I said, it leans very Buddhist, very Zen. As soon as they start traveling together or go to these very places, like the rocks, when she's a black rock and a white rock, we got yin yang. The void itself of the donut or the hot bagel is also very symbolic. Even her first reconciliation of accepting that she can become powerful, the acceptance of her potential, and then the end where it's her resolve is not to use violence to solve the problems, but to create that reconciliation within other people. So she solves everybody else's problems in order to fight them, which is that the stairway scene. That's the second realization, and that's the super like Buddhist. I've let go of myself. I've, you know, embraced all things and become nothing and become everything. Thus elevating, being enlightened, and becoming someone with understanding, compassion, empathy, and all those other things that are supposedly to be inherited in such a state, which is why she thus can relate to her daughter, because her daughter at this point has already claimed, how would you say? I would say a corrupted version of enlightenment.
Yes. You explained it way better than I could.
I sat for hours thinking about this movie afterwards, because it was a, like I said, a jarble of imagery on the screen that was coherent in narrative and was speaking to something deeper. And I was like, this isn't just entertainment. Like, you could just watch it and watch it for what it is. You could look at it as a literal story of what's happening and be just as entertained. But I think the thematic elements, that the much deeper rooted like philosophy and the psychology underneath it, it just has to pour in. That's what makes it so strong. Now, I could be completely wrong. The film creators, I haven't done some research on that. I don't know what their personal thoughts are, but I would hazard a guess that it's not too far, as the themes seem very strong in those directions.
Yeah, I don't think you're very far. You know, it's the message we get over here is, you know, like multiple different messages, you know, about it's basically the bond between a mother and a daughter, but at the same time with myself.
Yeah.
And
she has her own issues. She has to do her own thing. Her daughter has to come to her own inner healing, but it's still a relationship that they still have to work out to some extent. It's a universal principle, because there's families all over the world. This may have more Eastern philosophy influence, but the ideals and themes, like I've been saying, are very Like everyone can relate. It's not like me as an individual, like I see that between, okay, it's familial, so it's me versus me and my family, me as a son to my dad or to my mother, or me as a brother to my sister, or uh in relations, how to I see, not to be unaware of that connection of other people and their potential, and their storylines and their familial bonds.
Yeah, I remember when as a teenager, I remember someone saying like, you see your parents as your parents, you don't see your parents as people.
Hmm. Yep.
And once I like, yeah, that's true. My parents are my parents, but at the same time, they are people. They had lives before me. They have a life while I'm here, and they're gonna have a life, you know, I don't know. Once I move out of the house, they'll continue doing their thing. And
Hmm.
once you learn to accept that, and then comes the other question, everything you do sexually in bed, your parents probably did that as well. And at first,
Probably also depending on their background.
yeah, definitely. But at the same time, it's like at first it's like that's disgusting to think of my parents doing these things, but they are
Or
people.
human.
They're all
Yeah.
human. So the more you accept all these things that your parents are just people, just like you, the
Yeah.
more it's a lot easier, at least in my point of view, to actually speak with them in eye level.
Hmm.
You
I
know,
mean, I don't personally want to like talk about my parents' sexual relations. I wish them the best in that, and I hope I never have to like hear anything about that. Just as your kids will, avoid everything about that with you guys.
yeah, definitely avoided my parents. They do whatever you do, you do, and
Mm,
I want my kids to avoid whenever I do anything with my wife. But the thing is, at the end of the day, we are all human, and it shouldn't be like shocking,
yeah.
that they have their own thing, I have my own thing, and over here in the movie, it's you are my daughter, and you do how they tell you. Oh no, you are now this bad person. No, unacceptable. Oh, you want to study something other than being a doctor? No, unacceptable. Oh, you want to like no, you have to do what I tell you. I'm your parent. You do what they tell you.
Yeah.
Or I'm your daughter, your son, whatever. Oh no, whatever, same concept but on the other side. But once you accept it, that no, you have your own life, I'll do whatever I do, you do whatever you do, there could be a easier bond between father and daughter, father and son, mother and like parents and their kids.
Hmm. Well,
But
empathetic bonds. In the end, it was about giving up control and like,
exactly, not to
of course,
control,
like,
their lives.
mhm, yeah, not of course, not saying like let your 3-year-old whatever, but when your kids become adults, to try and relate on a different level, and especially like I don't know. There are those pressures. There's like tradition is important, but how do you maturely and how do you present that? Obviously your kids will choose to do whatever they want, but then you have to have the acceptance whether they follow that. It could be sad if they don't follow that, but at the same time, you know, I as the good book says, if you lead, if you teach them in the way, they will not stray far. So it's like if something is truly important to like, and what you've emphasized in conveying to the younger generation, your children, or even others around you, like if it holds true and there's something that's absolute about it, then they'll carry that with them, and at least having an interpersonal piece about like you did the best that you could, and that you had love and acceptance, and like you lay down, taught them about boundaries and all those various other things that they can continue at least with some portion, and whatever they collab with that.
Yeah. So the thing is, as a parent, you raise your kid in a certain way, and you think you know them, and as we see in
Mm,
the movie, the mother, she thinks she knows her daughter,
Yeah.
and the fact that she doesn't is a big motivation for this story. And it's hard for every parent to accept, oh, my son or my daughter is not who I thought they would be. They're completely, different picture from what I thought.
Yeah.
And this is life. At first, this little cute baby, and then toddler, and then child, then a teenager, and then they get to be their own adult, their own person,
Bum bum bum.
which is difficult in all kind of ways. But to find yourself and in who you are as a person afterwards, and most parents, oh, I've been a parent for like 20 years, they have X amount of kids. It's like, okay, awesome. Who are you as a husband to your wife?
Mm.
Who are you as someone without your kids and your wife? And a lot of people, they lose themselves and like, I have no idea. And we kind of see this in this movie, as she was so focused on job. She, not focused on a marriage, not really focused with her child, and she lost it. And it was the movie was her regaining her child and her marriage and herself.
Yeah.
Which
100%.
is absolutely amazing. If I'm not mistaken, they did show us this movie as 2 parts. Like, here's story number 1, here's story number 2. And if I remember right, our main protagonist did die in her own universe.
Sort of.
She died, and then she came back to life after the whole bagel thing.
I mean, she was her body was still, I don't know, she just became super powerful. It became very superpowery at the end there. But that is symbolic in terms of like to go through death to come to life. That whole ideal of like allowing yourself, because again, you could take the story literally, but again, the metaphor I think is very strong in terms of like she allowed her current self to just die, so that when she was reanimated in herself with her new fullness, that she could be exalted, if you will.
Okay.
It's very deep. You'll find that it's the Pinocchio going into the belly of the whale to find his father. It's the hero's journey. It's the Jesus on a cross. It's or Moses holding the serpent on the cross metaphor. These are very deep and powerful imageries and themes that have been woven into the depths of time. Even Egyptian mythology, certain things about the father being slain, so that all that stuff. So like the mother being slain in order for her to come back, that whole individual. It's very like, how would you say? They are complicated, simple stories for us to grasp with the deeper truths within ourselves. And so metaphors or iconography of that nature is for us to process and understand these ideals. That's why like in Buddhism, the ideals of like not self-neglect, but self-discipline through abstinence and fasting and learning to detach is a metaphorical of death, similar to baptism. Baptism is being put under the water and being drawn up. In the metaphor is that you're being buried, you're dying and coming up as a new creature, similar to Phoenix metaphor. You cannot, so the idea is that like you cannot continue as yourself until you die and come back.
Yeah. I have to say, the more I talk with you, the dumber I feel I am.
Oh no!
The dumber I realize I am.
No, this is how we learn and grow.
I did not pick that up at all, but as you explain, it's like, holy shit, this is amazing. I didn't get the whole religion aspect out of it, and everything you just explained, like this this movie was not talking about religion at all, but you somehow found the religion in it. And it's like, wow, I complete fucking idiot.
I
I'm not
will
religious anymore, guys. I
I'll
don't know
clue you
religion.
in. It's a lot of Asian films will lean heavily on various iconographies and different, generally Asian-oriented religious sources. Japan and its Shinto and various other Buddhist ideals and things of that nature. You'll find it scattered all throughout. And I find even Asian films in particular like to lean into like Ghost in Shell.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a moment where she's baptized, where she's in the bottom of the ocean or of the river, and she rises to the surface and she comes out, and then she's talking on the boat, and then she has this divine revelation and starts speaking almost in riddles and saying like, she starts speaking something that's very profound. And if you know, that's actually taken directly out of the New Testament from Corinthians, I think it is, the ideals of love. When I spoke as a child, when I acted like when I was a child, I acted like a child, but now that I'm a man, I put my things behind me. There's the old is in and the old will pass away. I could look it up, but the point is like, films and things generally from Asia, I've never really seen. More Western, most Western movies stray away from anything of depth in regards to using religion correctly or properly, or to invoke thought or religion. It's more used for like to give you a feel of a theme, not necessarily. Some directors are very talented with it, and some horror films are really fantastic. But because it's horror films are metaphorical, that's a whole nother discussion. But so all that to say is Asian influence is generally are very fascinated with certain aspects of using metaphor and what's the other word? Allegory, which is using like things to represent religious ideals, which are tied. And of course, you can't. All these things relate to some prefix of psychology, and then you can break it down to worldviews and philosophy and that's how I look at movies in general. So you can see what themes are being presented, and that's why I would say you may not realize you're doing it, but when you see like the woke message being put in front of your face and you're like, okay, I get it, this because they're not actually using the themes of those messages appropriately or like at all with some class or taste. It's just there, and it has, like you said, has no narrative value, doesn't relate. But if you were to look like a movie like this, it's all there, it's just connected with a much bigger story and a much deeper premise and more centrally rooted within self-identity and things of that nature.
I have to go and watch a movie with you because this is very fascinating. Like to actually go to a movie in theater and watch it with you and immediately talk about it and see what you picked up is like, because when I go watch movies, it depends on what movie I watch, but it's mainly about the story. I'm interested about the story, the universe of it, and how you tell me the story. And I like if you give me rules and you break those rules, so I'll catch it and I'll like, yeah, okay, here's the problems with the movie. If you do the whole woke thing, okay, here's annoying thing that you do. But because this movie was so flawless, and you found the whole religion out of aspect out of it, and also other storylines, the bigger picture, I didn't really catch it. And I also saw the movie like maybe 2 months ago. So, but it's very fascinating to see how you watch movies and what you get out of it.
Let me tell you, it does, like, I don't sit there and then I think of 1,000 things at once. Like I watch the movie and then I let it sit, and then I use my various forms of film analysis to determine where it was going. Like Top Gun Maverick. That there's
Amazing,
no
amazing movie.
amazing film, amazing and incredible.
We could have fucking
No
talked about
religious.
that movie.
We definitely can. But there's no religious iconography or leaning. Like you could take certain metaphors of like, oh, they're rising, whatever. But like that's not what the film is about, and this are central themes are held in different aspects of the film. So I wouldn't use my religious knowledge and philosophical and psychological stuff to. Well, I'd use my psychological stuff, but you know, it's very interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. But no, this movie also, like in my point of view, had no religion, you know, in it, but apparently it did. But it's very, very, very fascinating.
When you have dramatic things like The Matrix is a very classic example when it goes to like Christ imagery, Neo pose at the end in the Christ, and there's a lot of, once you understand that arc, how would you call it, archetype, and you'll see this pose often in many movies where the hero is fallen and their arms are in their T pose, the Christ pose, like
yeah, but that's
it's
like,
very common.
You know, that's like, oh, I see it visually. But no, that like you said, like he or she died and then she came back to life, and it's like I didn't.
Neo died in the first one. Same thing.
Yeah, but I need to do my.
They were a little on the
work
nose
again.
about it, but again, but because they were heavily influenced by philosophy, religion, and channeling it into a story, the elements are there. Like Morpheus, Seraph, all the names of the characters have representation, have deep meaning. Even the name of the ship is Nebuchadnezzar, you know, who had the dream. So like that's all metaphorical. They were all pulling on themes of and representations that were like, okay, if you were to think about, here are the elements and this is why this all lines up.
Well, I guess this is what you get when you were in theater.
I mean, I don't know if I would blame more my English class.
Here's a random question. Out of all universes, you personally, what do you say? Are you like the best, the worst, somewhere in the middle?
Ooh.
What do you think you are in?
I think in this day and age, everybody feels the weight of their potential. And I think that leads to a lot of depression and a lot of people who don't feel like they're fully reaching their potential. It's that thing, that unwritten, unfelt force that we can all see about each other when we see a friend and we're a little disappointed because we know that they could be better, kind of deal. And we all know that if we focused on one thing, we could probably be so good at it. So I think on an existential level, like I'm probably not at my full potential, and there are things that I love. I'm quite the, how do you say, something of all trades, a jack of all trades. I pride myself that I know quite a lot of things, but I know I like to approach life from a balanced point of view, saying that I know a little about a lot, and I like to have good conversations and whatnot. I don't have mastery over. I think there's a few skills that I'm very good at, but I don't have full mastery over them, and so I wouldn't say I'm in a multiverse where multi forms of myself have pushed themselves to the very limits to become good at a particular set of skills. I think I would probably I'd probably be that, in this case, the military guy, that my bland self somewhere else. Cause I could totally, I've been homeless before, but I still had a job and made it work, so I can see there'd be a part of me in one universe where I've given up hope and I'm homeless under a bridge, and someone could, if he had the neural links, he could pull into me and have access to my badass skills and whatever. But I don't think that's not all of me, but I don't think I'm the worst of my situation, but I certainly don't think I'm the best. I'm definitely very there's probably another form of me that went very deep into the military and either is of higher rank or like working for the government in some secret capacity, and and so on and so forth. Like it can only get deeper. So you can extrapolate yourself so far. So I'm probably mid-tier army dude skills and artistic skills.
From 1 to 10, like 10 being the best. Like, what do you think you'd put yourself?
Probably 6.5, maybe.
Really?
Probably. I mean, we're talking about a multiverse here. Like,
yeah.
Come on now. Like, if I was in the height of celebrity status and had billions of, like, what is success? Like, what is most powerful? Maybe I am right now the best form of myself. I don't know that. But at the same time, when I extrapolate into the multiverse where anything's possible and hot dog fingers and rocks and butt plugs, I don't know where I don't know where I sit. I have to give myself the benefit of the doubt to say I'm probably not the best, but I'm probably not the worst.
Well, it's good to know that you're not a self-centered person who like, oh no, I'm the best.
There's always room for self-improvement.
Yeah.
What about you?
So from 1 to 10, 10 being the best, my best self in other like in the multiverse, I think I'd put myself in a 3, maybe 4. I do love my life. I love where I am. I do feel stuck sometimes. Like, in other universes, I have accomplished way more than I accomplished now. So I don't feel like I'm in the best category, but I don't feel like I'm in the worst category. Because
I mean, I give you some encouragement. Like, we could think about the multiverse and where anything's possible, and you could be the president of whatever. Like, I'm sure in a multiverse, all the multiverse, infinite as they are, like that every opportunity is possible. However, there could be a factor that every one of you in the multiverse is utterly garbage.
Well,
and there could be a version of you where every one of you is super successful.
Yeah.
So
if there's a version
but they could be versions of where all of them are successful, but none of them are married. Like it really depends. I think what you have in your life is incredible, like especially at your age, and like, it may not be rolling in money, but that doesn't necessarily mean success. You know what I mean? Or a highest version of you.
I don't necessarily mean success with money, but like I don't know, like, do you feel fulfilled with where you are in your life?
I don't think anybody feels fulfilled until either they find that one thing, like this is my thing, like that caving dude on TikTok where he just caves and goes into very claustrophobic places that make me uncomfortable.
Ooh.
I'm not claustrophobic, but that's very makes me uncomfortable.
I would totally go caving.
Spelunking is definitely a fantastic thing to see. I've been in a few caves. I can tell you firsthand. You should do it.
I think I've been into one cave, one actual cave. So anyways, I do believe we got to the end of our episode of our podcast. With me today, Moses Moon.
Hello and goodbye.
Hello and goodbye. I'm your host, Joel, and we are Spoilers, obviously. We talked about the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once. I'll put Moses Radio link all in the bio, My Hebrew Podcast in the link in the bio. Until then, guys, see you in the next episode. Yeah, bye.
Goodbye.
Liberating.
Liberating?
Yes.
Clearly. Very much so. Today was absolutely liberating, debaucherating, detroitable, detestable.
Words.
Words are hard. Yes.
And so am I.
Right now, the Viagra hasn't worn off.
I just had to.
I'll be consulting my doctor very soon. I still have an hour to go.
I'll add this to the bloopers.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Edit. Beep beep. Marker.